Fans, we're at the Fort Longyear Memorial Gardens for episode 4 of Troops Trio, brought to you by Happy Dad and Sports Illustrated Ticketing. Tonight, we have exclusive access to the North Bay Battalion dressing room. Check this out. And ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Matt Sookram.
Welcome once again to Troops Trio, proudly sponsored by the City of North Bay, the Boat North Bay, the Moose Cookhouse, the Clubhouse at Gateway Golf, and the Fox and Fiddle. And this has to be one of the most unique venues I've ever done a show from. But like we told you before, Troops Trio bringing you behind the scenes like never before. I want to thank our studio audience for being here today. I want to thank Bob and Ranjan for joining me once again. And we're going to change things up slightly for today's episode. First big change, like I said, we're in the Battalion dressing room, so we want to thank the City of North Bay and the Battalion staff for allowing us to use this facility. And we are going to start today's show with our guest interviews. We've got several lined up for you today, but we've got the leadership team of the North Bay Battalion with us. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have all 4 of you here.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate being here.
All right, let's talk about the fact that all 4 of you have letters on your jerseys. For each of you, what was it like that moment?
You didn't introduce Bob or
I
me.
said thank you for joining me as always. Didn't I? Did I say thanks for Bob and Ranjan for being here?
He did. So like a in the middle.
Oh, you want me to do my wrestling thing?
Yeah,
Okay, well, write down your hometown, write down your weight, and the next time we'll get it.
Right on.
I'm not telling anyone my weight.
So, yeah, let's jump right into it, guys. What was that moment like when Coach Houlihan comes up to you and says, you know, for Ethan, you're going to be our captain. For the other guys, you're going to be our alternates. I know, you know, Ethan and Bronson, you guys were given letters last year, but what was that moment like to know that you're going to have a letter on your jersey?
Yeah, for me, from last year getting it the C in January, so kind of starting this year off with getting the C at the start, to have it for a full season is pretty surreal, and I'm honored to wear it and help these guys through a long season here to go.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, it's a complete honor. All of us know that, and it's nice to be able to lead such a talented young group of guys, and it's gonna be a good year.
Yeah, just like what Bronson said, following these guys last year, they were obviously had letters. It was pretty surreal when I got the nod, but yeah, just like they said, just help the younger guys, and should be a good year.
Yeah, just like they said, seeing guys before, kind of having the same meetings in past years, it was definitely something I was kind of working towards, so it was cool to finally see that happen, I guess, yeah.
Are all you guys quiet guys? Are you know, there's different types, right? Like there's guys in the dressing room who are sort of motivating guys. There are guys just follow my example. There are cheerleader type leaders. How would you maybe each of you describe the type of leader you are and you want to become throughout the year?
Yeah, I'd say I'm kind of a quieter leader, but I'm more of a example type guy. Go on the ice, practice, make sure the team's doing the right things that we need to do, and off the ice as well, as make sure I'm taking care of my body and kind of setting an example for the younger guys.
Yeah, I would say a little bit of both, right? You want to be one and the other every little bit, but in the dressing room sometimes, you know, gotta make a little bit of noise, you know, let everyone know that you're there. If the guys talking, going, not just quiet, but then also, you know, there's a time to dial it in and show the young guys that, you know, it's a game day, or we got to ramp it up a little bit in practice, so be a bit quieter there and lead by example.
Yeah, just like they said, I try to keep things light in the dressing room. There's obviously some times when you gotta lock it in, but try to keep it light. It's always a good thing. Stay positive and lead by example.
I would say I'm in the middle. I'd say I just like them. I think we're all basically the same, but yeah, leading by example is definitely something I focus on. So yeah, just kind of in the middle, but you do have to speak up sometimes. So yeah.
Maybe you can tell us a little about when you talked about the young guys, and I think that's a big part of handing the torch to the next generation. When you were 16 or 17 on this team, who was wearing the A, who was wearing the C, and what did you kind of watch as you kind of kept your eye on those guys?
Yeah, for me, Arnsby with the C, McDonald with an A, Nelly with an A. So those guys were kind of, when I first came in, they kind of took me under their shoulders a little bit, and they kind of helped me through my first year. And I led on them for a while. Just they would come up to me and just tell me little things. And I think that just showing those younger guys what you got to do in this league and how you can perform and kind of do the best and help your team win, that's kind of what they showed me early on.
Bronson, I got to ask you, you came in the middle of a year before the deadline, and then last year was your first full year here. You went to Vegas. All the reports were you had a great camp. And what did you learn, I guess, in terms of leadership at the NHL level? What sort of habits did you notice, and maybe habits you're going to take back both individually and as one of the leaders here today?
Yeah, I mean, they're just so professional. Everyone does their job. Everyone knows their job. Like, you got to perform every day, or there's a guy coming to take your spot, right? Guys are nice to each other. Like, they pump each other up, but they also are hard on each other because they want to be the best out there. They want the team to be the best. So you push each other every day. Like, it was a big compete week there, and it's nice to bring that back here. Just to tell everyone, like, it's gonna be a fun year, but we got to put in the work, right? It's not just gonna get handed to us. So I think that's the biggest thing there.
And Liram, same question. I know you were at Minnesota Wild Camp. What was the leadership group like there? They're in a phase. They just signed one of their superstars to a mega deal. What was the talk kind of like as guys are going through the motions there? They are in a situation where they're trying to really get back into being a really competitive team, trying to be a team that can take the Western Conference by storm. What was it like to be a part of a group like that?
It was obviously a pretty cool experience, but I feel like their mentality, just like Bronson said, it was just to ramp up what they've been doing. I think they've had pretty good teams the past few years, so they're trying to just get over that hump. And it was kind of just the compete level. It was cool to kind of see how good everyone was there, and I definitely want to bring that to here and kind of implement that into this team. So we're kind of in the same boat. We got to the conference finals a bunch of times, so we definitely need to get over a hump like that. So kind of similar in that sense. So.
Yeah, no doubt.
When you come up through the minor hockey ranks, U12, U14, U16, you're all playing against your same age level, and so leadership takes a different form. And I think when you are 16 and you come into the OHL, now you're not with the same age group, and there's different dynamics you have to cope with when you have a 20-year-old Kyle McDonald facing off against you or leaning on you in the corner, or just making you feel like you don't belong. Not that Kyle did that, but just skill set and strength. What kind of message do you have for a younger player who might be 5'11", 150 pounds in this league, going up against grown men like yourselves in many ways?
Yeah, well, I guess you can use Cam Warren as an example. Guy that's smaller, but obviously you can see with his skill set and the way he plays, it doesn't really matter anymore. And if you just kind of help them and push them and like inform them that just because they're like, and support them, I guess you can say, it's not going to make a difference, and it's only going to make their confidence grow, and they're going to play better as well.
Just to piggyback on that, it's quite the progression, Nolan, about you come in, you're trying to make a team, right? You get drafted, you're happy, you get drafted, now you're trying to make a team, and you're just trying to fit in, and then by the time you get to your third year, you're now one of the leaders, right? I mean, it happens so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's flown by. I remember that first year, it was a learning process, just even watching these two play in the Eastern Conference Finals. I was in and out of the lineup, and just watching that team go that deep, and it was a great process, and now kind of being in those guys' shoes, we're hoping to do the same thing this year.
Ranjan, you have a next one?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I do have questions.
That's
I
why
I could talk to these guys for 45 minutes, but I don't know what are.
Go for it.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, Amo, since you came into this league, I've sort of said that you're my favorite player. I like all these guys, so you're not exactly my favorite player, but I like the way you play. And I wonder who has sort of molded that into you, and the way you play, that sort of, well, I think the director of amateur scouting for the Wild called you a heat-seeking missile. And that kind of makes me think of Leo Komarov. Remember him for the Leafs, a heat-seeking missile. How do you impart some of the things that you do best onto the next generation of Battalion players, guys who are just coming into the league? Like, everyone has different skill sets, and you do what you do best, but that might not work for Cam Warren, or that might not work for Kent Greer, but you might be able to share something about the way you approach the game with them.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is definitely confidence. I feel I've kind of had struggles with that, so my first thing of advice to any young guys would be confidence. Just come in with confidence and kind of just play your game. So just like I did, I think I played my game, something I've been doing my whole career is playing physical, playing hard. So being confident in your skill set, that's definitely something that I would tell any young guys coming in the league. So, yeah.
So that's interesting. But Ethan, where do you find you want to be confident and you want to have your chin up high and you want to hit the ice hard on every shift? Where does the confidence? How do you build confidence when your shifts are 40 seconds long and you might get 10, 12 minutes a game as a 16-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, you got to take it shift by shift for sure. I mean, my first year, I was around that with the confidence and everything. Just kind of asking questions with older guys, asking your teammates anything kind of can bring up. Those can help, and then kind of just taking it shift by shift, make sure you're doing your job out there every time you're on the ice, and I think that will help you in the long run.
How much does it do for a young player when the coaching staff, whether it's Billy Holder or Matt Marquardt, just lean over your shoulder and give you a pat on the back like you did something well out there?
Yeah, I mean, that's something easy that can give you a boost of confidence for sure. Coming off the ice, you did something well, and they give you a little pat on the back, so that's definitely a little easy boost of confidence.
Ethan, going to Anaheim's camp again. I guess you've been twice now. So what did you notice from year to year in terms of leadership, in terms of, I mean, there must have been a real level of excitement that when you're first drafted, you go to their camp, and then you have a really, an outstanding season here. You go back the second year. What did you notice maybe in terms of the leader you've become that you can incorporate even more to the leadership question?
Yeah, so my first year, a lot of nerves going into camp. It was my first year, so that kind of didn't play a toll on me, but you're kind of there nervous. You're scared to ask questions and stuff like that. But going to this year, I was super excited. I was pumped to get there. I already knew a lot of the guys already, most of them playing the OHL, so it was good to have that. And then going into with the NHL guys, they were looking pretty good this year, and their big goal this year is to make the playoffs. So just seeing how they compete and work hard every single day on the ice, off the ice, was pretty cool to see.
And a younger team, right? Than maybe Bronson's team. These guys are going for the cup every year, it seems, and Anaheim's just learning how to win and hoping to make the playoffs this year. And there must have been a couple of guys on that team that you've actually played in the OHL against, right?
Yeah, Beckett, Connor Smith, two guys that we played a lot against in the last couple of years. So yeah.
So what was that like? Was that? Did you find it maybe it was easier to grow at that camp maybe than if you're going to Vegas's camp, which is like I say, they're a veteran team, a lot of guys in their 30s.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool if you go to a camp and a couple guys already, kind of make it easier to set in a little bit, so you can kind of lean off those guys as well during the practices, off-ice stuff, so it kind of makes it a little bit easier.
When does getting a letter on your jersey become a goal? Talk me through the process of coming to a team, being a young guy, listening, learning, but then starting to figure out when you should or maybe shouldn't say some things. And so when does it start to become you realize kind of internally like, oh, I can take this team and I can work with these guys, and I want the coaches to notice what I am saying and how I'm helping the team. When did that start to become something for each of you?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the years, you learn and grow so much from the older guys, seeing them as a younger guy, right? I mean, leaders in the OHL typically are the older guys. They've been around the league longer, seeing what's happening. And I think just developing and, understanding and processing all that information and trying to, keep growing and building yourself as a person, a player over the years. And then once you get to your older years, you're like, okay, now I'm ready to, show that and spread that around a little bit more. And I think you have like everything, like these guys said, like more confidence, more like the systems more, the routine more, what people are looking for more. It's just you just learn so much, and I think it's now your time to like show that to the younger guys, and that's how the league keeps going.
Hey Matt, we got a
on
nice crowd here watching us, and I just wonder they might have a question, and if they haven't expected to ask a question, maybe think of a question. I'm sure Ethan's wants to know what your questions are. So if you do have a question, just wave your hand, and Matt will get to you.
But certainly for Liram and Laird, you guys were under the guidance of, all four of you were under the guidance of Owen Van Steensel last year. But then what is it like, we heard from Ethan about becoming a captain. What is it like to learn from a new captain midway through the season? Because that doesn't happen very often around the OHL. Usually the guy that's the captain is probably sticking around with the team.
Yeah, me, Liram, and Ethan, we all played against each other growing up. So I knew Ethan's game, and when he became captain, we all knew it was the right decision. And just learning from that, coming into this year, we're all the same age, so kind of took it as a chance to become a better leader on and off the ice, and kind of speaks for itself.
Right on.
Yeah, just like Nolan said, I think we all knew each other from before a little bit, so it was definitely cool to see a fellow friend get to see, and it was definitely, I feel like it was kind of similar from the years before with Arnsby and Van Steensel. I feel like we still have the same culture and everything through the organization, so I don't feel it was that much of a difference, but just like Nolan said, it was definitely the right choice.
Does the job of the captain change in the playoffs? Does it get harder because you feel like we're down 2-1, I got to make a speech, or we're down 3-0, I got to make a speech, I got to do something. Do you feel pressure wearing the C?
I'd say a little bit, but with all the help I have with the coaching staff, with all these guys behind my back, it kind of makes it pretty easy going to the playoffs. I can rely on any single player on our team to kind of bring up something or help the team in any way. So kind of going into playoffs doesn't make that too much harder now.
So who's the captain in Anaheim this year?
Radko Gudas.
Radko. Oh yeah. I called Enright Radko this weekend. I think. What is he? What is his style, Radko Gudas?
Yeah, he's a example type guy. Definitely a leader in the room as well. He's a guy that you can go and talk to about kind of anything, and he'll kind of help you anyway.
He's got the big beard still.
Oh yeah.
Like a father figure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now you're captain in Vegas, Mark Stone, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, just watching when Vegas won the cup, he was the emotional leader of that team, right? In terms of, when he's going, everybody seems to be going, right? So, what did you seeing him up close? What stands out for you?
Yeah, he was always like the first guy and the last guy in the gym, right? He's been in the league for so long, and it's a guy like that you just want to follow. And you can see him talking to all the guys. He came up to the young guys, like all the invites and the draft picks, the signed guys, the younger guys at camp. He just asked us how we're doing, asked us if we're ready for the camp. It's a guy like that you want to look up to and you want to go on the ice and follow. And so I think that's why he's the captain there, right?
I can't believe Ottawa let him go. It just makes no sense to me.
They've made a lot of questionable decisions, though. That's coming from a Leaf fan. So, all right, guys, we're running short on time. We want to thank all four of you for joining us today. Been a pleasure to have you, and we're looking forward to the season ahead. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, welcome back once again. Thank you to the Battalion Leadership Group for joining us. That was awesome to have them here.
It was great. Enjoyed listening to those guys and about leadership and what they're going through in their career. But it's just so refreshing to see them without their helmets on rather, and get to meet them, get to talk to them, learn from them about what they're going through. It's really one of the big pluses of our podcast.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime you get to meet them up close and personal, I think it's special because they're elite athletes, and how often in our daily lives do we get to interact with an elite athlete, and potentially three of them, maybe more, going to the next level, the pro level. So that's kind of cool. As a Canadian, you think that's where it's at, and so you
Yep.
get to sit and chat.
Absolutely. Like we said, we've got a jam-packed show once again for you. Those were just some of the guests we're going to have on today. We're also going to hear from head coach Ryan Olahan of the North Bay Battalion. We'll hear from Owen Sound head coach Scott Ray a little bit later in the show, and AJ, our hype man, will join us a little bit later as well. So let's get into the regular portion of our scheduled program. Let's talk about how the battalion fared last week. They're 1-1 off that weekend, coming off a 3-1 win against the Sudbury Wolves, followed up by a 4-3 loss to the Sioux Greyhounds. As always, gentlemen, your thoughts on the weekend?
Well, the Sudbury game, I thought they were even better in the Sudbury game Friday than they were in their earlier visit. They really controlled the game. Sudbury had a bit of a big start, created some pressure for the Battalion D, but North Bay settled in really well. I thought Mike McIver was really strong in the first period, keeping the game tight, and then the Battalion basically settled in, and they really outplayed them, especially I thought in the third period. North Bay had a lot more energy than Sudbury did, and deserving of the 2 points. On Sunday, it was the penalty bugaboo, which really was the story for the first 2 periods. I know John Dean, the Greyhounds coach, said, we thought we had that game won going into the third, 3-goal lead. And give the Battalion credit. They didn't give up. They didn't quit. They got 2 goals to make it, to cut the lead to 1, and then they fell behind with 2 with the empty netter, and they scored another one late to make the final 4-3. So it just shows you what is in the Battalion cupboard when they're going. They can create some real damage, some real trouble for the opponents. But the penalty issue really was the story, I think. And North Bay just never had any rhythm in the game until in the third period. And when you're playing a team like the Greyhounds, really good skating team, high energy team, you can't get into those situations where they have one more man on the ice than you do, happen too much, and the Greyhounds full marks for the 2 points.
Yeah, just like the New York Yankees learned a hard lesson. It's very hard to come back when you're down late, right?
Yeah.
I had to
I'll
give
tell
you the
you-
rep for the
I'll tell
Blue
you
Jays
why-
jersey there.
I'll tell you why I'm a happy dad after this weekend.
That's
I'm a
right.
happy dad because they beat Sudbury, and I'm always happy to beat Sudbury on the road. I mean, that's our little mini Stanley Cup, right?
So are these people.
They're very happy about that, and I'm happy about that because it's not an easy building to go into, especially on a Friday night. And I hate how they turn off the lights when Sudbury scores. Like, it's awful on TV. You don't even see what's going on. Somebody has to tell them that. But that's a Sudbury problem.
I think you just did.
Yeah, it just did. Think about it. I mean, you want to see everything. So I was very happy about that road win. I was talking to Amadovsky just before we started talking to the leadership group there about his shot, and it was just a nice snapshot from about 40 feet, and it just sailed in. He saw an opening, and he went for it, and that tells you, kind of what he can bring to the table offensively. The other reason I'm a happy dad is because John Dean and the Sioux Greyhounds did not score a 5-on-5 goal against us.
Yep.
Right? And so kind of self-inflicted wounds like you talked about, those are correctable, right? The penalty trouble and the frustration maybe that builds when the offense isn't going. Those are very correctable things that Ryan Olahan and the crew can work on. So when you can limit a team like the Sioux to no even strength goals, they had a power play goal, they had a 4-on-4, which is, different, not 5-on-5. And then they had the empty net goal. But, really, I think North Bay showed some offense. So what I'm worried about, I'm wearing my Blue Jays stuff. I'm worried about tonight's game, Toronto, New York, because New York's offense came to life.
Exactly.
Right? And it wasn't much and it wasn't enough, but it was something. And kind of like North Bay, at the end of the game, their offense came to life and they really pushed it. And the outcome was really in question. And I think John Dean was just happy to get out of here with 2 points and not be forced into extra time, which is where I thought it was going. I thought it was going to be a storybook ending, and it didn't happen. But I'm a happy dad because of all those positives that I saw this weekend.
Let's talk quickly about Ryder Cali, who has, his first 3 goals, all against the Wolves, all in Sudbury. I wrote in my game recap on Bay today that he looks like a guy that was specifically built for this rivalry. And, the fact that they have to play Sudbury 8 times this year, I think if he can, keep that pace up, that's something that the Battalion will take.
And it won't be long before his line mates, Parker Vaughan and Cam Warren, start to join him on the scoring sheet. I think Warren's had a couple of chances, still looking for his first OHL goal. I think once that line starts to generate offense and goals, that line's just going to take off. And so you're right about Callie. He's come ready to go. We didn't see much of him last year. He got in one game, I think, when they acquired. He's a first-round pick, and of the Greyhounds, and so as our fans know, so he's going to be a special player. There's no doubt about that. But I think once that line gets going, you're going to be talking about more than a few points for Ryder Callie. You're going to be talking about points for Parker Vaughan, and of course Cam Warren too.
On speaking of points, who had 3 weeks into the season that Arseny Pronin, Range, would be leading the team with 4 goals? That's not a bad start.
Yeah, both Pronin and our we have 3 European players. We have Iggy Potsi, who scored just a lethal, beautiful goal against the Sioux Greyhounds, and he's done that before. We talked about it in the previous broadcast.
Him, yeah.
Coming down, sharp angle shot over the goalie's shoulder, and I don't know if that put the bug in his ear or something, but he tried it and it worked. And I've seen him do it 3 times in his time with us in North Bay. But Dubravtsev is showing some good stuff. He's tasked with things that he might not have been tasked with before, but in the face-off dot, trying to win draws, and that's a work in progress for Dubravtsev. But Pronin, he plays with some grit and some sandpaper, and I've seen he doesn't back down and has a nose for the net. So the 3 of those European players are going to translate into offense, and I expect big things after Christmas, once they've acclimatized to the league and the schedule and the systems that Ryan Olan has, I think we're going to see some big things.
Yeah, if you don't win, you've just got to remind, this is a younger team than we've had in the past. The sky is not falling. There's things to work on. They're 3-3. They're a 500 team after 6 games, and as you'll hear in my interview with Coach Olahan, they haven't done a 3-game weekend yet. I mean. Nope. Because of the early start to the season, you're only playing 2 games a week. So I think there'll be more pace, more rhythm as they go through the start to get the heavier part of their schedule. They got to play Friday, they've got to play Saturday, they got to play Monday, and they got a home and home with Barrie coming up too. So you're going to start to see these stories develop as we move along.
As always, we want to thank Sports Illustrated Tickets and Happy Dad Beverages for bringing you this show, as well as our community sponsors, the City of North Bay, the Boat North Bay, the Moose Cookhouse, the Clubhouse at Gateway Golf, and the Fox and Fiddle. And make sure you check out the Battalion social media channels to find out all of the latest with Troops Trio. And don't forget, you can send your comments and questions to Troops Trio at battalionhockey.com. Look who it is.
Favorite part of the show.
AJ. AJ's here.
Now, so you guys didn't tell me we were going to have a guest on the panel?
I know, right?
Oh, the mic wasn't on. Wow, that was a rookie mistake from the DJ.
You're using my mic.
Weren't you in radio?
Yes. What happened to radio? The same as what's happened. Nothing.
Video.
Radio.
I was just
That's
saying,
right,
video killed the radio
Video
star.
killed the radio star.
That's it.
Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Well, now that the mic is on and everybody can hear me and we're all good to go. Jay's game tonight.
Excellent.
I'm pumped for that.
So you
guys got to stop talking. 'Cause we gotta
Okay.
go soon.
Well, we'll try to move things along. So why don't you tell us, what do you got going on? Just the one home game for the weekend coming up. But
well, you know what? It is a busy weekend. Friday night we're on the road in Guelph, right? Then Saturday we're in Owen Sound, and then Sunday, Turkey Day, we have a little bit of a break, and then Monday it's our annual Thanksgiving game. We take on Scotty Ray in Owen Sound, and second intermission, turkey bowling.
Turkey
Who
bowling.
doesn't love
Okay.
turkey bowling? So much fun to watch. And
How does that work?
you remember they have the pins up, and then they throw the turkey down, and whoever gets the most pins down wins the turkey.
Like a frozen turkey?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what I've always wondered is because they're going to eat that turkey later.
Yes.
And I've always thought that it was pretty, it's a great contest.
It's in plastic.
But it's still kind of, you know what? Like, you know what the guys are doing all game on the ice, right? So I hope they enjoy the turkey
Skating.
that
They're
whoever
skating.
wins.
That's what they're doing.
And then coming up, I don't know what you guys feel about this, because you guys talked about rivalry week. Now rivalry week is next week for us. We take on Barrie. That's our rivalry team. And
Yeah.
you guys were. And when I heard you guys talking, you were talking about Sudbury, and the Sioux are the rival teams. So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, for me, it makes sense. They are a division rival for sure. A little bit further away geographically than Sudbury, but ever since the Battalion moved to North Bay, they've had some good battles against the Barrie Colts.
Fair enough.
You talk to the players, their big rivalry is Barrie. Their
They
big
don't like
rival
them.
is Barrie. Because part of what you say, the teams have had some real good playoff battles. North Bay and Sudbury haven't. They haven't really in the regular season either in terms of wins and losses. North Bay's basically controlled the rivalry ever since the Battalion moved here.
And the one time they did face off in the playoffs, it was definitely one-sided in a 4-game sweep. So
Yeah, and before the Battalion moved here, they had never beaten Barrie in the playoffs. So, and they did their first 2 years here. So, I think it's a big matchup for the players. Barrie's the big team for them, and the Sioux. I talked to the Greyhounds too. They love playing North Bay. They love coming to North Bay, but it's not their big rivalry. Their big rivalry is with teams down in the Western Conference.
I thought when I saw them as Sudbury as a rival, I didn't really, and I think it's just proximity. I think when it was picked out for the rivalries, they went, all right, these guys, and kind of
just looked at the
and
map.
went with it, because anybody that knows is that Sudbury is technically the rival. But you're right. Now that you guys break it down, Barrie is fair enough. Yeah, is a rival. A team just never gets thought of it.
Sudbury is the Shelbyville to our Springfield. So
Exactly.
But the Bob's point is a good one, because rivalries come from playoffs, right? So you have your Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators had a rivalry going there in the playoffs. Toronto Boston, right, in the playoffs. Toronto Florida now. So Sudbury is an organization that has had one playoff series win in the past 10 years, I think. And, we played them once. It's so strange that we've been here since 2013. We've had one playoff series against them, and it speaks to that we're at different places. Like, we're either at the top of the conference and they're out of the playoffs. We hardly ever match up with them, although I pray for that every year. Yeah. And it was a good series.
It would be a lot of fun.
It was fun. And do you remember that game in Sudbury where they had a 5-2 lead or something like that?
And they coughed it up.
They
Yeah, that
blew
was
it.
so much fun.
That was so good. And the lights weren't going off. And
Sure, they enjoyed it.
Oh, it was the best. It was the best. And Dario Zulich, he can't stand. No, not can't stand. So much respect for Dom DiVincentis and Mike McIver. He just knows that those guys are kryptonite to the Sudbury Wolves.
Yeah, when you have the attention of the opposition's owner. That's
And the year we didn't have Romani and we didn't have DiVincentis, and we swept them. Like, that's North Bay's owned that rivalry. I remember the first year, the high point of the rivalry, I think, was in the first year we were both going for first place in the division. It came down to the last weekend of the year. And we won a huge game in Sudbury on a Friday night, and we won the division, and then we had that great playoff run. So, yeah, North Bay's won all the key games.
I think rivalry weekend is a great idea, and it might evolve in time where they pick different rivals, because every team has more. Like London has Kitchener and probably Windsor. They'd want to sort of
and
mix
everybody
it up.
else in the league.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's fair. But we might see Sudbury as a rival weekend in the future, and. Maybe even I feel like we have a pretty good rivalry with the Ice Dogs too.
Yeah. There's been some good playoff battles for sure. Yeah, that first year went 7 games and
down 3-1.
Down 3-1 in the series. Down going into the third period in Game 7.
I don't know how you guys do this. I don't remember the scores from Sunday's game. Like, I'm just sitting here going, I just nod my head. Yeah, I remember that.
Because you have a life and we don't.
Maybe,
that's why.
Maybe.
All right, what else you got going on, AJ?
Hey, what did you guys think of those sweaters we wore the other night?
Love them.
The other day, actually.
Love the indigenous design. Beautiful.
You can actually get one if you want.
Sweet. Yes. You got I
Gerald,
can go grab one.
It's Dash Auction.
That's right.
We got a bid on it.
Game worn sweaters are there.
I think right now most of them are around $200. You can't beat that. So I know I saw McIver's was right up to 400.
Is it?
So go to their scan in, bid away, and
I bid on the Amidovsky jersey.
Did you?
Like in the second intermission of the game. So I think it. I don't know what the strategy is. You wait for the last minute and then jump in, or
you know what? I sort of when I look, I sort of feel bad because I want to bid on one, and then that their parents are trying to bid on it, right?
Is that what happens?
Well, think about it, right? Because you want to have your kid's jersey, and then some guys like us are like racking it up to $500, and the dad's sitting there going,
yeah,
and he's got to get it, right? So.
Well, what if you're Amidovsky's? Yeah, now you have two kids in the league, and you got to sort of do.
Right.
But you
well,
guys
if I don't
like
win
the
one, I
orange
win the
shirts?
other one.
Yeah, put your hands up if you like the orange shirts.
Excellent.
Yeah, 70-80%. I like them. It was like Anaheim Ducks theme.
Yeah, but the design was beautiful, and well done. Well done.
100%.
And so it's not the jersey.
No.
But you can still, wear it
Reggie,
out.
we call them sweaters.
They're sweaters?
They're sweaters.
Okay, it's not the sweater.
If I say jersey, I get a text
Do
during
you?
the game. Oh, yes.
What?
Yes, I'm telling you, it's sweaters. They're old school, right?
Yeah.
They're sweaters. That's what they've always been.
All right.
And they're not jerseys. Jerseys are baseball.
Jerseys are what you are wearing right now.
That's a jersey.
What about
That's a sweater.
New Jersey?
There should be the new sweaters.
So our fans are wearing sweaters.
They're wearing
There you
sweaters.
go.
Hands up if
Sweater
you're wearing.
weather season.
Are you wearing a
everybody.
hockey sweater or a hockey jersey? Hands up if you're wearing a hockey jersey.
You got about. Oh.
How about a hockey sweater?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not going to text AJ during the game.
Yeah, exactly right. So the boss says what the boss says. Right?
There is
so
a
I gotta
there-
go by that.
There is a great story by a Quebec author, Roch Carrier, called "The Hockey Sweater." And if you haven't read it, you should read it. And it actually has a little. Actually, what's better is the little National Film Board of Canada 12-minute movie.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. The Hockey Sweater by Roch Carrier. You watch that, and you'll probably watch it a dozen times. It's so excellently done.
Fantastic book.
So,
Read it when
on
I was
that
8.
note, I'm going to go and watch.
What
after the Jays game, I'll watch that tonight.
There you go. All right.
There you go.
In your baseball sweater.
My baseball jersey.
AJ Jakeman, everybody.
All right, AJ.
Once again, we want to thank Sports Illustrated Tickets and Happy Dad Beverages for bringing you this show, as well as our community sponsors, the City of North Bay, the Boat North Bay, the Moose Cookhouse, and the Clubhouse at Gateway Golf, as well as the Fox and Fiddle. And make sure you check out the Battalion social media channels to find out all the latest with Troops Trio. And don't forget to send your comments and questions for Troops Trio at BattalionHockey.com. Okay, it's time to move into our Coach's Corner segment. Bob, you had a chance to catch up with Battalion head coach Ryan Olahan. This is technically their first 3-game weekend, although one game will happen on the holiday Monday. What else did you have teed up for him?
Well, yeah, we talked about obviously the weekend that was. We've talked about some of that already, and then the road trip coming up, and the holiday game coming up on Monday, and the rivalry with Scott Ray and Ryan Olahan going head-to-head, back-to-back games this weekend.
It's a second straight weekend where he's facing a former assistant coach of his. That's gonna be interesting. All right, producer Gerald, let's hear Bob and head coach Ryan Olahan.
Okay, with Coach Ryan Olahan. Ryan, let's look back at last week. 1-1, you win it in Sudbury. Thought it was a big win for you. And then Sunday, I'm sure you're disappointed with the way how things started, but you made it interesting at the end.
A weekend as a whole, we're doing all of our video and analyzing it right now and being pretty fresh in our memories. But starting with Friday, impressive performance. I mean, when you're going against a team that hasn't won yet, they were on the road for a while, being Sudbury. Now they get a home start. We knew they were going to come out guns blazing, and they certainly did in that first 5-7 minutes. And our team stuck with it. I felt we played a really smart road game, kept things simple when we had to, pressed a little bit when we needed to. Some good performances by all, and a huge 2 points. Then, going in on Sunday, I knew we were going to be playing a very fast, skilled hockey team. They were a team that certainly I thought we had trouble with that speed a little bit in the first period. Some adjustments as the game went on. We weren't able to stay out of the penalty box, which ultimately was probably the biggest difference in a hockey game. And it just, whenever you get in the penalty box that many times, like you can't play the way we want to play. Too many guys get tired, too many guys get run down, can't play in the offensive zone. There's so much to it. So I thought that stung us a little bit. And, you know, lessons to be learned. I think it's really good and healthy at this time of year to learn those lessons, and we're going to be better off for it.
When you were behind like that as a coach, and then you make a big comeback, and you almost tied the game, in fact, is that a matter of you adjusting to the guys who are going, or is it the team suddenly it plays with a little less pressure because they're 3 goals behind?
There can be a little bit of all that. I think sometimes when you talk about the ebbs and flows in a hockey game, when you're the team that's down, you kind of have nothing to lose. So when they made that, they get the third one there, make it 3-0. We tinkered with the lines a little bit to see if we could spark something, and it worked. It doesn't always work that way, but we're able to just play on our toes a little bit more. We felt Sue was sitting back a little bit more, and we were able to kind of attack in that setting. And yeah, it's a little bit too late at the end of it. You wish you could have turned that thing on 5 minutes into the first period, and we would have been having a really good chance and probably sitting here with a different result. But that's the game. That's where we're at right now. And again, it's the lessons to be learned. This is really good video teaching for us, really good messaging for us, and I know we're going to be better off for it.
One less goalie on your game nights to go through. How's that adjustment now that I guess people don't know who the backup is, or in some cases who the starter is if Mike's on the bench. Now you have 2 goalies. What impact is that having?
Well, you know what? I think it's a good situation by everybody. You have really good depth of the position. 3 goaltenders at the time that deserve to play in the league, and I think with Charlie, it's a great opportunity. We're happy for him. I think he's going to get really good opportunity in Sarnia, a team that's on the rise there, and he can go in and make a real good difference. So I think it was healthy, and then of course we're really lucky to have Jack, and of course Mikey. Mikey being Mikey, it's a luxury for us. And then the add to that is Coles Ranjan is playing very good for Powassan as well. So we're in a really good situation, and a good situation down the road here and into the future as well with the goaltending position.
Let's talk about the road trip this weekend, your first overnight road trip of the regular season. You got Guelph Friday night in your next game, and then Saturday you start that home and home with Owen Sound, Saturday night there, and then back here on Thanksgiving Day. So maybe a look ahead to what you're expecting this week.
We're looking forward to, I think, getting on the road, and having a weekend where we get 3 games. It's been a little bit of a slower start to the season. I think, pushing the season up 1 week has created, these 2-game kind of weekends. And I know our guys, if you were to give the poll in the dressing room, they'd love to play hockey and play games. So I like that fact that we get a test here of 3 games. I also like the fact that if you go back in the last few years, when we've had to play Guelph on a Friday night, we've played at home on the Thursday. So this is going to allow us to get on the road earlier, get settled, be a little bit more fresher for that first game against Guelph. And then, it's, Western Conference teams. It's, we always say that, when we go into those Western buildings, they're tough buildings to play in. We got to worry about the Battalion and see if we can have our team just kind of running on all cylinders. And I like our team as a road hockey team. That's where the depth. We don't really have any matchups we're concerned with. So that allows us to roll our lines and get everybody rolling. And looking forward to also spending time together. You do your meals together. You're in hotels. The guys get some roommates going. So naturally, it's a really good team builder situation for us too.
A lot of familiarity with Owen Sound. You played them a couple of times. You know the guy at the who's coaching their opponent on Saturday night and again here on Monday. Is this a game as a coach you look forward to, going up against Scott, who worked with you and was a very supportive assistant coach here, and now he's running his own program at Owen Sound. Is this when the schedule comes out? Do you look forward to that, to these matchups?
Yeah, I mean, we played a lot of golf together this summer, and when the schedule comes out, it's a back-to-back situation too. Home and home, and it's an interesting game because they do so much similar to us. Of course, he was a big reason of building the systems that we play here. When we started working together, he's almost like a co-coach for me, and he's doing a lot of the same things in Owen Sound. So the players are going to decide it on the ice for sure, and us as coaches, it'll be maybe the odd little tinker that we'll notice that we're trying to expose, because there's probably no other coach that knows me as good as Scott Ray, and I like to think the same about him. So competitive, friendly battle. And looking forward to seeing him. I mean, you just look at, he's the one team that has knocked off the Windsor Spitfires. He's got a lot of talent over there. They're on the rise as well, and proud of him and how that his team is playing, and looking forward to the test.
Yeah, Owen Sound 5-2 on the year, and Battalion come in 3-3. Well, thanks for this, and have a great week.
Thanks for enjoying the coffee with me, Bob.
All right, we thank head coach Ryan Olahan for joining. Bob, some interesting comments there about how he felt about this last weekend for the Battalion, and certainly he is looking ahead to these next 3 games, Guelph and Owen Sound on the docket. What did you take away from his comments on that?
Well, the big thing I think he's happy about is they got 3 games this week. Because the late start, we talked about that earlier, but the late start of the season, they've been 2-game weekends. This is a 3-game weekend. In 4 days, you got 3 games. You got Guelph, a younger team. I was talking to your buddy Mark Perry today just to find out about Guelph, what kind of team they are. They're a younger team, but they've been up and down. They have same record as the Battalion, basically. They came close to beating London the other night. But so that's the first game. And then Saturday is the start of a home-and-home against the Owen Sound Attack. Of course, Scott Ray, who used to be Ryan Olahan's assistant here, is now the head man at Owen Sound. And the Attack are off to a great start. They're 5-2. Mm-hmm. That's a tough building to win in. It's just a different building, has some weird puck bounces, etc. And then, of course, Mr. Terrian comes back here on Monday as part of the team. There have been some concerns that he did get a concussion in a recent game, but he's expected to play on Monday. And he'll want to play, and he'll want to send a message to the fans and to some of his ex-teammates.
Well, Ranjan, you and I called that preseason game that Owen Sound played here in. And what was Terrian's stat line? 2 goals, a fight, and a second period exit to the showers, and that was
ejection. Yeah, he had the best 30 minutes I've ever seen him play.
That's right. So obviously, he'll be looking to... He'll want to come back and do something that actually counts this time, right, and not in the preseason.
Yeah, Owen Sound's a tough competitor. We've seen a lot of Owen Sound, right?
Yeah,
preseason and now early in the season. They are always a hardworking team. They have speed, and now some of their players are getting to that age where they want to make a run for it this year. They're not going to have Carter George forever, right? He's the best junior goalie in the world, and he's going to be representing Team Canada again. So that when you have that solution in net, it's a big challenge for Mike McIver, right? And so McIver, you'd want McIver to be in the game against. There's a day between, right? So I don't know. McIver could play both if George is going to play both, but we'll see what the coaches decide to do. But that's a real challenge for our goalie to go up against the best junior goalie in the world. And then, but don't look past Guelph because they're a hardworking team in the Sleeman Center. It's always hard to win there. We have a lot of history in that Sleeman Center building as an organization in that championship run back in 2014. It's tough for Guelph. They've got to make hay while the sun shines because at any given year, either Windsor's at the top or Kitchener's at the top or London's at the top, and they've got to pick their window to try to make a run for it. And they've been able to. They've won 2 OHL championships in the past 12 years. So it's a good weekend for Ryan Olahan to try to get his systems in place, and it's all about execution. And in that clip where you're talking about him, you can't execute when you're in the penalty box the way we were against the Sioux. It kind of shot ourselves in the foot there, we want to see better execution in that regard on the road, especially.
Yeah,
Owen
Guelph.
sounds,
Go ahead.
Owen sounds an interesting team. Coach Houlihan told me, he says, the reason why we schedule them in preseason and we play them early in the year is that we're very similar, and they're probably even more similar than they were a couple of years ago because of who their new coach is, right? So
Yeah.
It's Scott Ray's second year, so there's a lot of similarity. They play each other a couple of times in preseason just to get their systems in effect going and get them ready for the season. So really a couple of similar type clubs are going to meet here back to back, so they should be two fun games to watch.
I remember asking Ryan Olahan after a game. I can't remember if it was the preseason or if it was early on in the season, but the Battalion beat Owen Sound, and I said, what was it like to put up those goals, or what was it like to see your guys put up those goals against a kid that is expected to be, on Team Canada's radar and is expected to be one of the best goalies in the country? And he goes, well, first of all, we have a pretty good goalie on our end. I don't know if you saw what he did in the playoffs last year, Matt, but he was pretty good, right? So I love that Ryan Olahan is always boosting his guys and knowing when to say the right things, But, he will give his flowers to the opposition when it's warranted, but for sure, that is how they look at it. It's, this guy's got a lot of hype around him, but we feel like we can beat him.
And to that end, they feel, I know they traded Charlie Larocque to Sarnia last week, but they feel really good about their goaltending with Mike McIver and Jack Lisson. And, of course, Cole Vrugdenhill is playing awfully well right now for the Powassan Voodoos. So they feel pretty good about their goaltending, can really match up with anybody goaltending-wise.
And before we get to the opposition coach's comments, it is a tough weekend schedule-wise considering the early starts that these two teams are having. Guelph is 3-2-1-0 on the year, as you said, Bob. But last weekend, they went 2-0-1-0. They beat Saginaw twice, 7-3 in Saginaw. They beat them 3-2 at home before they lost 3-2 at home to London in overtime. So that's a pretty good weekend if you're the Guelph Storm, if you want to talk about a momentum swing, considering you were 1-2 going into that weekend.
Yeah, well, they're any organization run by George Burnett's going to be well structured, and I think they have high expectations of their players, and it's a good test early in the season on the road against a Western Conference team in a big building and in front of a big crowd.
All right, why don't we hear from the opposition coaches here? Bob had a chance to catch up with Scott Ray, former North Bay Battalion assistant coach and current coach of the Owen Sound Attack. So, producer Gerald, let's see what Razor had to say.
Head coach of the Owen Sound Attack, Scott Ray. Scott, 5-2 to start the year. You must be pleased with how your group's playing.
Yeah, I am really happy with the way we're playing. We're playing pretty strong hockey and playing with a lot of pace and getting really good goaltending. So it's been a really good start.
And what's the key to playing in the West? Of course, you coached here in the Eastern Conference. What's the key to winning games in the Western Conference?
Well, it's, every game's pretty important, I find, in our conference. And, we're always playing the competition's usually a team that's, trying to win a division or trying to win the conference. So you got to be ready every night.
And let's talk about you playing, coaching your son. This must be really enjoyable for you to be coaching your son at a high level of the game.
Yeah, it is. It comes a lot of responsibility. It also comes with a lot of, negatives. Everybody would probably think that he's in the league just because his dad's the coach, and that, that's not the case. He was drafted pretty high to Hamilton and found his footing really here with us, and was given an opportunity to play, and he's given, opportunity to show what he can do on and off the ice with us. And, it's awesome having him here. It's one of those things that, you sacrifice a lot as a parent coaching in the league. And, you find yourself wanting to watch him when you're coaching against him. But now that he's with me, it's so much different. Like he's number 22. He's he's just a big body out there that we have to make sure that we're coaching him to our best abilities, and there's no gray area other than he is an own sound attack player, and that's what he is. He's, when we leave the rink, he's at a billet home, and he's on his own, and he's actually living with Jacob Therrien. And we as a family, my wife Shanna, we don't see him as often as everybody would think. He's yet to even have a dinner at our house, so it's I think that's the professionalism we have to keep. And it's nice to see him in the room every day, and his dog comes to the rink a lot with me, and he, the kids love when Finley's here. But it's one of those things where, like I said before, the professionalism of drawing the line of family or hockey, it's hockey first when you come through the doors.
You mentioned Jacob Therrien. Of course, you coached him here, and now you're coaching him in Owen Sound. Just talk about him, and I guess the thing I noticed about him more than anything else is he hasn't let his size really dictate the way he can perform, right?
Right. I always say to anybody who listen that Jacob plays the game the same way. You wouldn't know if it's exhibition or game 7 of the finals. That's how Jacob plays. Always plays on the edge. Usually crosses the line, but with us, the way we've assembled our lineup is we don't want to be pushed around. And with him, size is one thing, but his heart and his enthusiasm for the game really gets him where he wants to go. And, he's quickly becoming a hated player in the West, which is what he wants. He can get under kids' skin better than anybody. And if they're chasing him around instead of playing in their structure, then, he's doing his job.
Let's talk about Jacob and your team playing the Battalion twice this week. You get them Saturday night at home, and then, of course, you're here on the Thanksgiving traditional game. What about this home and home with the Battalion coming up?
Well, it's an important home and home for both teams, right? I know we have them here on Saturday. They're in Guelph on Friday, and Ryan will tell you, in this league, when you play a team that's played the night before, they're game ready. So we really gotta emulate that during this week's practice and try and simulate some game type, battle situation or game type scenario, because they're gonna, like I said, they're going into Guelph, then they come to us, then they have a day off, and then they play us on Monday. So, we got to be on our toes. They're a hard-working, well-structured team. McIver's a good goalie in net, so we expect nothing but a really good push from them. And we play them in exhibition for a reason, and it's so that both teams can get dialed into their habits and into their structure and into the way that we want to play.
You know Coach Uli pretty well. He knows you. What are these games that you look forward to because of the history you two have?
Well, let me say first, we have great history. I love Ryan. He's a great coach, and I really enjoyed my time under him. And I owe it to Ryan too. And him and my wife were the ones that really pushed me to put my resume in to come here. And I'll never forget that. And we always talk that if we ever make it further in coaching, we'd love to coach again to get together. But these are the fun ones. These are the ones that after you can sit in the room and talk about the game and reflect a little bit, and maybe have a drink together and talk about how the season's going. And I tune into your games every Thursday night. Actually, this week I'm disappointed that you're not at home Thursday, so that it's part of my thing. My wife and I get a certain takeout, and we sit and watch the Battalion because that's where we started, and we like to see how teams play them and see how they're playing. And it's a lot of fun to actually get to do that on Thursdays, because our home games are Wednesday, Saturday, so it works really well. But now I get to pre-scout them on Friday against a division rival too, Guelph, who's playing hard hockey also. So really looking forward to seeing the guys.
I'm sure you'll have some support on Monday afternoon here. What's your favorite part of playing a game at the Gardens?
Well, Steve Battani would probably say the meal after. I'm not going to flatter him. It's pretty good, but it's the keg's better. But no, being there on Monday, it's the Thanksgiving game. I don't want to choke up, but I'll get to see my oldest son. He just graduated nursing college, so I'm really excited to see him. But it's one of those things that the Gardens is always rocking, and the momentum shifts there are crazy. And I know Diener was there on I think it was Sunday, and
Yeah.
I looked at the score sheet, and there's 3,400 there for a Sunday, which is awesome. So that like if that crowd's into it, and if the Battalion are a bit tired, that they can get them going. And even talking to John Dean about the game, he said that they took it to them for the last 10 minutes of the game, and they were lucky to get out of there with the points they did. So, I'm really looking forward to just, Thanksgiving Day and having the kids. We always come up the day before, so we'll have a Thanksgiving meal, and, JT will get to see his old billets. I'll get to see family, and, it feels like a little bit of a homecoming, but it's quick, right? Like it's, you're in and out like a fiddler's elbow, and like we play Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, and so it's a tough week for us. So like we talked about earlier, this home and home set's really big for us.
Okay, thanks for this, and look forward to seeing you on Monday.
All right, Bobby. Nice talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Always great to hear from Razor. Rode buses with that guy for a few years, and it was awesome getting to know him. And again, former North Bay Centennial, former North Bay Battalion assistant coach. Bobby really took a lot out of that interview, especially when he's talking about what he learned from head coach Ryan Olahan. You don't become a really good head coach in the league without getting some great guidance.
Well, not only the guidance that he helped him with in North Bay, because he's made the transition, because some guys, they get that first job, and there's so much more in being a head coach than being an assistant coach. So many issues you have to deal with on a regular basis. But Ryan was so good, and just the whole team atmosphere they do in North Bay, that he was really good at training Scott Ray, so that when they encouraged him to put in his resume when the Owen Sound job opened up, and Scott thanks Ryan in this interview, and that he wouldn't have this job without Ryan's input. So there's a great relationship with the two of them, but once the game starts on Saturday and again on Monday, each of them wants those 2 points.
And he also touched on the fact that he does get to coach his son Mason in the OHL. And like he said, it comes with some negatives, because you do hear, oh, this kid's only here because his dad's here. But, you got to remind people, Mason was drafted in the 3rd round by the Hamilton Bulldogs, Brantford Bulldogs, former Hamilton Bulldogs. And he got there on his own merit. And then, a trade happens, and his dad just so happens to coach the team. And, he talked about the level of professionalism that they have to have as a father and son when you're on an OHL team.
Well, not only that, this weekend you talked about Mason, but Owen, who plays hockey as well, he plays for a college team. Scott hasn't seen him all season, so he's looking forward to coming back to North Bay. They're going to have a nice Thanksgiving Day dinner in North Bay, and Mason's going to be there, Owen's going to be there, and it's going to be, and of course Scott wants to leave with the 2 points, but it's really a big family Thanksgiving type weekend for the Battalion. And of course they'll have Thanksgiving with their billets, and of course we talk about the Rays, and it's it's a great Thanksgiving Day tradition here they have in North Bay, and it's nice to see that great family spirit alive and well.
Well, Scott is he's going to be a good coach in this league. He was a good coach in the NOJHL with the Powassan Voodoos, right? So he has the head coaching experience there and had some success there as well. I think if he is in fact getting some heat about his son being on the team in Owen Sound, I think people just have to get over it, because Mason Ray is a good player. And there have been examples in the past. I remember in Flint, the owner, Nilsson, had his son on the team. And then in Sudbury, the previous ownership had their son on the team. And I think in Mississauga or Brampton, Richmond has his son on the team as well. So I think people just have to get over it, and it's it's up to the coach to find a role for that player. And it's one thing to take a third or fourth line center and try to put him on the first line and do that at the detriment of the team. And that's not what's happening in any of these cases that I described. And I think it's just lightning rod issues that if the team is not going well, it becomes more of an issue. And in Owen Sound, where the team looks like they're going to have a good season, it's not going to be an issue at all. It's just I think it's human nature to try to pile on those things.
And you could hear the just the pride in Scott's voice and his face, talking about his son, getting to coach him, and he's developing into a fine OHL player, and I think it's it's much ado about nothing really. He's a very fun guy to watch, and the fact that you don't get drafted in the third round by the Bulldogs,
No.
if you can't play the game.
All right, what did you make of the fact that he's roommates with Therrien? And that's, again, we touched on it, but, as much as Therrien might be motivated to come back and play North Bay, Mason Ray is going to be motivated to show off in front of his hometown as well. And these are two big, interconference matchups for the Battalion coming up.
Well, the thing is, me and Scott belong to the same golf club, so I saw a lot of the Rays in the summertime at the golf course. So and it doesn't surprise me that Jacob Therrien would be his roommate. Probably met, maybe on the golf course playing in North Bay. So, I think there's in Owen Sound, you have really that family feel, but they're going to come ready to go. Saturday night's game will be interesting too, and any lingering issues from Saturday night could impact Monday's game. We'll have to wait and see, but those back-to-back scenarios, and even though Owen Sound's in a different conference, it's a real rivalry here.
You're right, and it's because of the Ray, the Therrien thing. It'll be a rivalry for a couple of years. I think that I'm really trying to figure out the goaltending situation for this coming series, and who Scott Ray's going to put in, because there's a game on Saturday and a game on Sunday. So if you're Ryan Olahan, you have a Friday, a Saturday, and a Monday. Friday, Saturday, and a Monday. I think McIver's going to get 2 starts. I would like to see Jack in Guelph, and then McIver on Saturday against Owen Sound, and then on Monday against Owen Sound.
So you go McIver back-to-back?
With a day in between.
Interesting. Bob?
Depends what happens on Saturday.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't think whoever plays on Friday won't play on Saturday, and we'll have to wait and see what happens on Saturday to determine Monday.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That's going to do it for us on this week's episode of Troops Trio. We want to thank Sports Illustrated Tickets and Happy Dad Beverages for bringing you this show, as well as our community sponsors, the City of North Bay, the Boat North Bay, the Moose Cookhouse, and the Clubhouse at Gateway Golf, as well as the Fox and Fiddle. Make sure you check out the Battalion social media channels to find out where Troops Trio will be next. And we know where we're going to be next. We're going to be at the Moose Cookhouse on Main Street in North Bay. That will take place on October 21st. We're going to take a short Thanksgiving week break, as the Battalion do play on the Monday, so it's a bit of a quick turnaround. So on October 21st, we will be at the Moose Cookhouse. So come on out and say hi. And don't forget, you can send your questions and comments to us at our email address, troopstrio@battalionhockey.com. We want to thank our camera operators, Cassidy and Jacob, show coordinator Owen, producer Gerald, our hype man AJ Jakeman, executive producer Steve Batanti, and thank you to our studio audience for being here today. For Ranjan Rupal and Bob Coles, I'm Matthew Sookram, and this has been Troops Trio.